Welcome back in. It is match day 11 at the World Cup. It is groups G and H taking the stage today. In Group G, you have Belgium trying to take a stranglehold on this group with a game against Iran. And you have New Zealand taking on Egypt. Can Egypt try to get a upper hand here in this group? And then in Group H, you have Spain taking on Saudi Arabia. Spain gets off to a slow start because of a team we will mention next. Saudi Arabia looking to keep their tournament hopes alive. And in the final game, it is Uruguay taking on Cabo Verde. Uruguay, the only team in this group with a win so far. Another win here would do absolutely massive for the team's chances of advancing on to the round of 32 and their seeding in that, while Cabo Verde tries to match their best ever result at a World Cup. So a lot to get to here, so let's get after it. Welcome into World Cup Preview, World Cup Today, here on the Nick Burt Sports Network. I am your host, as always, of course, Nick Burt. Groups G, Groups H today. Very interesting games, just given the results of the previous fixtures. Going to be a lot to get to in this one, so we're just going to dive right in. We're going to group order today, so we're not going in chronological order. Group G. We're starting out 3 p.m. from Inglewood, California. It is Belgium taking on Iran. Now, both of these sides come in on draws. All the games in this group, the two games, ended in draws last time out. Belgium coming off the 1-1 draw against Egypt. For Iran, it's a 2-2 draw against New Zealand. Two obviously very interesting results there, to say the least. Very interested to see how this game goes from a tactical standpoint, because it felt like Belgium were kind of outmanned and outmatched, I guess I would say, in the first game of this group against Egypt. And I know Egypt are probably their toughest competition in this group, and you walked away with a draw, so kind of got to be happy with it. But this Belgium side just kind of looked lethargic, if I'm being completely honest. I was not impressed by them. I know I won't say a lot was expected of them, because people know they're at the end of the golden generation. The players like Romelu Lukaku, the players like Kevin De Bruyne, Thibaut Courtois, they're all kind of aging out of this team, and you're expecting, the Jeremy Doku's, I believe the Dodi Lukibayo, Nathan Ngoy, the Charles de Kettiers. You're all expecting them to take the step forward with this team, and just not really happening at the moment. And that kind of worries me about Belgium's immediate future kind of on the international stage, because it does feel like, you look at your Netherlands, you look at the Belgiums, maybe even the Polands, like it feels like they go in cycles. They're good, they have good squads, they make some consecutive tournaments, and then that generation phases out, and then they miss a couple tournaments. I'm getting a little bit worried that might be the road we're heading down with Belgium, where now they are kind of past the back nine of the golden generation, and maybe they just kind of fizzle out and we miss them at the next few tournaments, and then they show up and they have all the youngest talent in the world, and they are, rock stars. Very, very good potential there. You never know. You do look at it for Iran, though. I mentioned in the first game, a lot going on back home. For a lot of these players, they hadn't played since February. A lot of these players play in Iran. The league season was shut down in February. And, just kind of getting your focus back to football. it's going to be tough. But I will say I think a 2-2 draw against New Zealand probably isn't the best result in the world, just given New Zealand are the lowest ranked team at this World Cup. And you had to come back twice. It's not like you conceded twice. You went down twice and had to score to get this game level again. That worries me a bit about this Iran team. For them, they are going up against their toughest challenge in this group. I still believe Belgium are going to win this group. If they don't, massive issues that need to be talked about, because this is kind of a layup of a group for them, if we're honest. But if that generation's fading out, that generation's fading out. It's going to be interesting to see how this game plays. I'm still taking Belgium here to get the victory. It's going to be closer than people think. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends in a draw. I'm still taking Belgium, though. The only result I don't see happening is Iran winning. Although, I will say, when Iran played New Zealand, they were at Los Angeles Stadium. I'm sorry. And they had a very good crowd contingent. It will be interesting to see if that is the same for this one, which I'm expecting it to be, and how that plays a factor here, we'll see. But give me Belgium in this one. In group, we continue with Group G. 9 p.m. kickoff from the BC Place Stadium in Vancouver, and it is the aforementioned New Zealand taking on Egypt. Obviously, ended in draws the last game. I mentioned in the preview for the first match between New Zealand and Iran that one man cannot make a team, and New Zealand cannot be trusting Chris Wood to do it all. Well, that's when Elijah just decided to get a nice brace in the World Cup. Chris Wood kind of didn't have the best of games, and what did New Zealand go out and do against Iran? They kind of controlled the game. I won't say like they dictated the tempo, all that, but they played a pretty good game. Chris Wood did have the assist on the 2 Elijah Just goals, but this New Zealand team, I still don't think are going to make noise at this World Cup, truly. They can prove me wrong today with a win against Egypt. If they win against Egypt, I am fully prepared to have a conversation about New Zealand making it to the knockout round for the first time ever, which would be just absolutely incredible for a nation like New Zealand to do that, just because the footballing infrastructure is not there for them. You play in the Oceania Football Confederation. That doesn't help you. You're not playing against teams like Egypt, because that confederation is 10 or 11 island nations, basically. This is a massive moment for New Zealand. It feels like if they are going to get points out of any of the rest of their games, it's probably this Egypt game. The only worry I have is I really don't know what to think of this Egypt team, because it's basically Omar Marmoush, Mohamed Salah, everybody else. Now, I will say Mustafa Ahmed Choubert, the goalkeeper, had a phenomenal game on, I think that was, I don't even remember when that game was. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. My dates are all off here. I think it was Monday. We'll ride with the Monday take. But, I looked at basically their whole back line just wasn't great. If, New Zealand can go on the counterattack and do what they did against Iran, Chris Wood, Elijah Just, New Zealand might get a win here. Now, I don't think they will, but it's going to be very interesting dynamic to see how that plays out. I'm still going to take Egypt to win here because, like I said, I don't expect New Zealand to make any noise on this international stage. And that might be me just being ignorant here. I mean, it would be phenomenal if they make noise on this stage, because that is just such a great story. If they can go out and make a knockout round, and I get it, it's expanded to 32 teams. But if they can make a knockout round, that is, hands down, best story at the World Cup. Now, yes, that could be topped if the team we get to in a few minutes here, Cabo Verde, somehow make the knockout round, or Curacao. But New Zealand making a knockout round would be absolutely phenomenal. Given that, we're going to move on. Group H, it's our first game of the day. We're headed back to the Atlanta Stadium, as it is going to be the number 2 team in the FIFA rankings, Spain, taking on Saudi Arabia. Spain come into this game off the shocking 0-0 draw to Cabo Verde. Saudi Arabia, 1-1 draw against Uruguay. Interesting game because, Saudi Arabia basically went out there against Uruguay, played a 4-4-2, didn't really have any intention of doing much attacking. They opened the scoring in this game. I believe it was around the 43rd minute. And it was just Uruguay finally wore them down in the 80th minute, and that's when Uruguay got the equalizer. But that is something that Spain is very capable of. We have seen it at tournaments before, especially that Argentina game in 2022, where they just put up the nastiest of nasty, low blocks, park the bus, whatever you want to call it. And they get results out of it. It ends up working in their favor. I know they do not have the talent to compete with this Spain team. But if you play the tactical battle correctly, anything truly is possible here. For Spain, though, you need to get 3 points, truly. Because that was just, if you're Spain, that's an embarrassing performance that you put up against Cabo Verde. The fact you could not score against the second smallest nation ever to make a World Cup, and I get it. The goalkeeper, Vozinha, made so many saves in that game. And Spain controlled possession of that game. They almost had 3/4 of the possession. They had 27 shots in that game. They had 51 touches in the opponent's box. Cabo Verde had 6 and 6. There was at no point Cabo Verde were going to win that game. But that kind of result is a win for Cabo Verde. For Spain, even though they got a point, that is a loss in their books. The fact they did not blow them out is truly just shocking. Now, the interesting stat here, because I couldn't believe it when I saw it. Spain, since they won the World Cup in 2010, they have 3 wins at World Cups. They've been to every World Cup since then. They've been at there. They were there in 2014. They were there in 2018. They were there in 2022. 3 wins. Obviously, that's an average of 1 win per tournament. This is just absolutely bonkers that's a real stat. Another stat to follow that up on, Spain have not won any of their last 4 World Cup matches. Their joint worst winless streak, I should say, in the competition. For a nation like Spain to be, with all the talent they have, that is just, I can't believe that. That is truly a shocking stat to me. The midfield looked slow to me against Cabo Verde. That kind of worries me. Is Yamal going to start? I don't know. I was leading up to the tournament, I said, you don't need him the first 2 games. You'll need him against Uruguay. Is Spain at the point that they need Lamine Yamal to play against Saudi Arabia? I mean, if they are, Spain are in massive trouble. Massive, massive trouble. I'm still going to take them to win, though. because I can't be talked out of it because I just don't trust the Saudi Arabia team. I know they got a result, and who knows, maybe they get another result. Maybe we get another 1-1 draw, and Saudi Arabia are just kind of hanging around there on the last day. They need to get a result, and they're playing Cabo Verde. Maybe somehow Saudi Arabia win this group. With the way things go, who knows? Give me Spain here. They've got to play better than they did against Cabo Verde. Surely they will. I guess we'll have to see. One final game to preview here. It is the 6 o'clock game, and it is the other two teams we've mentioned, Uruguay taking on Cabo Verde. This game taking place in Miami. So Uruguay getting another game in Miami. Same for Spain. They've gotten another game in Atlanta. If you look at the last group, Iran have 2 straight games in Los Angeles. So that's kind of just the way we're playing out here. Simple for Cabo Verde. Vozinha has a phenomenal performance once again. I don't think that's going to happen. As much as it would be such a great story if that happens again, or hell, even if they get their first ever World Cup goal, which would be absolutely incredible, I don't think that's going to happen. It is interesting, though, because if you look at the results for Uruguay, since the November window, they've not won a game. They won both of their games in the October window. They played the Dominican Republic. They won 1-0. They played Uzbekistan. They won that 2-1. Since then, they have drawn with Mexico, got blown out by the United States, draw with England, draw with Algeria, the Saudi Arabia game where they draw. That's a team that does not inspire confidence in me. I can tell you that. If Uruguay let Cabo Verde do what they did against Spain, which is basically not possess the ball whatsoever, there might be a chance that Cabo Verde get away with another point here. We saw how long it took Uruguay to get a goal against Saudi Arabia. I mean, they struggled for that. They were down a decent amount of that second half. And that was like the one moment that Saudi Arabia were kind of constantly on the attack and they had the momentum. Everything after halftime in that game, all Uruguay. I don't know how Uruguay doesn't win this game. I mean, I do, but it is mind-boggling that we are at this point. We're saying, well, if Cabo Verde parked the bus enough, there's a chance that they are around that, round of 32 line come match day 3 when they're taking on Saudi Arabia. Which is absolutely crazy to think. I know, the Curaçao game against Germany did not inspire hope, I think, in anybody with the debutants here at the World Cup because they were the first ones kind of thrown to the fire and it didn't go well. Then Cabo Verde got their draw, and then Jordan and Uzbekistan happened, and it wasn't great. If Cabo Verde keeps playing like this, they will make the knockout round somehow, some way. I don't think it's sustainable, though. That's the problem. You cannot count on Vozinha carrying your team this whole way there. I know he's gotten 13 million new followers, probably even more than that, since that game. That's not going to help you when you're on the field. Yeah, sure, it looks good on paper, but the game is played on grass. Simple as that. Cabo Verde don't have the strikers to score because they will be parking the bus this whole time. Full stop. They come minute 1. That their back line is going to be literally 10 players in their goalie. Simple as that. They will be parking the bus this whole game. Uruguay will try to break through that bus. And I guess we'll see how it goes. I'm giving Uruguay a win here because if they don't get a win, again, that's another embarrassing result for one of the big dogs in this group. So with that being said, all 4 games covered right there. I will give you a chronological schedule. I know we went group wide there, but your chronological schedule is Spain against Saudi Arabia. That is a noon kickoff Eastern Standard Time today. Then we go to LA, Belgium-Iran, 3 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. We then go to Miami, Uruguay-Cabo Verde. It's a 6 p.m. kickoff. And then 9 p.m. kickoff is New Zealand and Egypt up at BC Place in Vancouver. So with that being said, that is going to wrap it up for the preview of Match Day 11 here at the World Cup. So thank you so much for watching. If you just stumbled across this video, click like, click subscribe, tell anybody you know about it. We'll be back here tomorrow previewing it all, just like we have the past 11 days. World Cup review, World Cup recap, whatever you want to call it. Tonight, we'll be there recapping all these games. And we hope to see you soon. So thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again soon for another episode here on the Nick Burt Sports Network.